This is my final review in my 31 days of Halloween, and today we are talking about the Blob, or the Blob. This is the Blob remake. There was one done, I believe, in the 60s, and this is one that was done 20 years later. And it's one that stood out to me as far as like one of the better remakes because everyone will have their own say like what was the better remake. Like even when you take about like The Thing, you think of Halloween, you think of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003. It was a good remake. Friday the 13th 09 was a great remake as well. But this is one that stood out for me. And when I was recently reminded about this film when people were talking about great remakes, and I didn't even hesitate for a moment to buy it because I remember the memories that it has, especially with this DVD cover, Scream Now While You Can Still Breathe, and just playing around with Silly Putty thinking about this film. But if you're not hip to the fact, the Blob is essentially something that looks very similar to Silly Putty, but the way that it functions, it's an alien or maybe it's man-made, but the moment you touch it or it touches you, it consumes you. You eat it and you become part of the Blob. It has a very simple premise. Things doesn't have a motivation. You don't know much about it. I think it very much has a lot in common with a slasher, especially like the first entry within a slasher, where you're thinking about Black Phone, Halloween, or Jason Voorhees. You don't know, or even Freddy Krueger, for example. You don't know much about that character in the first film, but as you develop within the sequels, you start getting a sense of what that character is. But when this entity doesn't have that personification, it truly is a creature. It truly is a force of nature, and I think that's what makes it interesting. Because when you don't, it's weird. How do I even word this? Is because usually with the killer of the film, you rely on some type of humanoid or creature, but this is just a mass of an object. It's just moving, doesn't really have any character, and it really doesn't have any. It doesn't really give a damn about what you have going on that day. It's just whole goal is to consume biological matter, and to have that play in the backdrop, you really have to be craftsman with the writing. Unlike most of the horror films that I've seen during this month, this one did draw out emotion for me. I did actually care about the characters in this film. I did wanted to see the follow up on that, and so it did hurt a little bit, and it did sting when certain characters in this film died, especially like as it relates to like a romantic interest that plays out with an older couple, and you will see as you see this film, and it kind of hit me in the gut because it's like, yes, people die within horror films, but like the way that it's narrative written, like you're like, okay, they have some irredeemable quality, or maybe they're not the best person. But nah, not in this film. They were like good, generally good people trying to do the right thing. They weren't assholes or anything. And this thing didn't care. It's like, nope, you're here one month and then you're not here the next. So like, definitely don't get attached to any characters in this film, because yeah, they're like gone just like that. But yeah, I literally found myself screaming at. I'm staring out to space because I'm imagining myself screaming at the screen. Why? 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 This film and this Hill Has Eyes, I would say, have drawn out good emotion from me as I exclaimed at the screen, like, why are we killing these beloved characters? But even with something that takes on the visual aspect of anybody, I think it's very interesting. I also wonder how did they pull off a lot of the effects. I'm thinking they use a lot of suction in the backdrop. There definitely will be another video for the blog as I dive into the special features because I am very curious of how they were able to pull off this entity, but then also what goes into the writing of these characters, because when you have something that's a force of nature and it lacks any emotion and lacks even in the ability of them looking like a humanoid, yes, it does consume and stuff like that nature. you do need very clever writing, and I felt like the writing in this was very good, and at no time did I feel like it was forced, right, or that I didn't really care about the people that was the story was being told about, because it was very relatable, even with it being that small town vibe. It's something that I very vibe with, and it is definitely up there for one of my classics. And to be the film that ends out my 31 days, I couldn't have picked a better one, right? Have you seen The Blob? If you haven't, I highly recommend that you do. And as always, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you next time. And as always, Jaritos on me.